Hi, it's Teresa with Crafty with Teresa. Thank you so much for joining me today.
First, I wanted to apologize. I had intended to get this video out sooner, but I had some surprise visitors for the week. My grandchildren were here. So after spending some fun time with them this week, I am now back in my craft room for my adult fun. And again, before we get started, I want to welcome, I do have some new subscribers. I want to thank you so much for joining my channel. I hope you like what you see and you stick with me. Speaking of sticking with me, thank you to those that have been with me and continue to comment and support my channel. I appreciate it so much. Today we'll be making a card using the Totally Awesome Stamp and Die set. I mentioned, I believe, in a video a week or so ago. This sketch today is taken from page 24 in the 2025 Stampin' Up! Catalog, and it's a part of our team's monthly sketch design challenge. Now, this is the card sketch that we'll be working on. However, if you'd like to see the scrapbook layout I created in this challenge, I'll link the video in here for you so you can go back and take a look. This card is a Craft My Stash, sort of. I'll show you different options, like if you have the Stamp and Die set, what can you do to make this card? If you have the Stamp and Die set and the Designer Series paper, what can you do to make this card? Lastly, if you have neither of these, you guessed it, what can you do to make this card design? So enough of my chatting, let's get to crafting. We'll start with the turtle. If you have the Stamp and Die set, you just need to pick which turtle you'd like for this card. I liked the turtle facing the right. Now I've already stamped several, so we'll use what I have to get started with the coloring. Whatever you have will work fine. I have several different types of alcohol inks and markers, but today I wanted to play around with watercolors. I happen to have the Stampin' Up! Watercolor pencil, so I'm going to play around until I find the color I want. I've decided I want 3 colors for the green. I'll color my granny apple green first. I'm going to outline it a bit, meaning the focal point, the turtle, and then try a swirling motion so that when I add the water, it'll give it a textured look, or at least I think that's what'll happen. Now, we know turtles have wrinkles, right? So I decided this might help me put some wrinkles on this turtle. We'll see how it works out. After I've colored all of the turtle in the granny apple green, I'm going to set it aside to dry for a minute, and I'll speed through the rest of the coloring for time's sake for you. Now, we will be bouncing back and forth between the turtle and the square yellow musical notes, so I'll try not to make you crazy, but this will hopefully make sense in just a bit. Now, while I'm letting that dry, we're going to move on to the next thing, which is I wanted to show you, if you don't have Designer Series paper and only have the Stamp and Die set, here's an idea for you on how you can make something similar for the musical notes on the 2 3/4 square. You could just grab whichever yellow cardstock you have, and you could probably even do this with white cardstocks, but I did not. I had this yellow color in my stash. Now I wanted to darken it up a bit, so again, using the swirling motion, I added the watercolor pencil crushed curry, and then I let it dry. And once it's dry, I'll show you 2 different options to add those musical notes. Now back to the turtle. We already have the lighter green and it's dry. We're going to add a darker green, and we're going to pull that color in to create some shadows and texture. I'll kind of do this in spots towards the top of his or her legs, or even from the arms, again pulling it down towards the end. I'll fiddle and I'll fiddle until I get the color I want. Now we'll let that dry, and we'll start working on the shell, but using the crushed curry pencil. Same process. Very light with the swirls, pull the color in, and then darken it near the outlines. Inside of the outline, I don't know how that makes sense. I hope it does anyway. We'll speed through that, and you can just take a look. Now let's get back to our yellow cardstock where we want that 2 by 3 1/4 square with the musical notes. If you have the Stampin' Die set, you just stamp on it. Now I did not have the white ink at the time near me or handy, so we as crafters, we use what we have. So I grabbed my black Memento ink. As I said, if you have the Stampin' Die set, grab the little musical notes that's in the set, add it to your block, and you can just stamp it with the black ink in this case. Now I did a first, second, and third generation stamping here to kind of give it a little bit of variation. That's one way. Now if you don't have either the Stampin' Die set or the designer series paper, here comes the fun part. I'm a doodler, so you could just grab a journaling pen. So I'll grab that journaling pen and I'll add my own musical notes. Now, I have no idea what tune I'm creating here in my doodling fun, but it turns out cute and I love it. You'll see that I use the journaling pen several times throughout this process today. Now let's go ahead and make our microphone. This card is actually a pun for a younger girl who's a Taylor Swift fan. So this is what I call my Taylor Swiftie card pun. The pun is, we're talking about Swiftie and we're using a turtle. I don't know, maybe it's crazy. But I'm going to add a microphone to the turtle to look like he's singing. And of course we'll add those musical notes also. I will quickly pencil in a little cloud bubble so that we can use our journaling pen to draw those notes on the bubble. Oh, I'm sorry, inside the bubble. But back to the microphone, let me show you two different ways you can do that. If you have the Stampin' Die set, you stamp the little ice cream cone. Now, there is a microphone, but it's just a little small for my turtle, so I'm actually going to use the ice cream cone in this case. And use my black journaling pen. I'll take my black journaling pen and I'll draw down just a little bit to make that microphone a little bit bigger. Draw that line down to the bottom on both sides, and then just kind of continue on with that design inside the bottom of the cone. On the top, I'm going to add a bunch of dots because, microphones look like they have indentations at the top. I don't know what they're really called. But I'm going to kind of give it a little bit of those indentations and then add a little separation between the two. I'll continue to tweak this until I get the microphone look I want. We'll go ahead and cut out the microphone and you'll see it does turn out looking really close to a microphone. In hindsight, I wish I'd have changed the color to pink since we're doing a Swiftie pun, but I did not. But you could do that. I did also want to share that for those that have the designer series paper, you could just grab one of the ice cream cones and fill it in on the top, covering the sprinkles and making the bottom a little longer, and fill that in with your journaling pen if you have one. Now, stick with me because I do have a card that I made with a modified ice cream cone, and I'll show that here today. So let's grab our little bubble cloud, we'll call it, and we'll go ahead and cut it out. We only have a few more pieces and we'll be ready to assemble the card. I'll grab the green and white striped paper for the other square, and it will be 1.5 by 1.5. Then I'll grab a piece of the designer series paper to use as my base. panel, which will be 4 by 5 1/4. I'll cut that down and add it to our card base. I believe the card base is Balmy Blue, or it could be Boho Blue, but that information will be in the description box. But we'll add the items to the top of that base panel, and voila, this card is done. The last few tweaks I did for this card, I added some doodling around the yellow musical square and on the base panel. So I hope you enjoyed this video today and you gathered some tips and techniques from it. If so, I would love it if you'd subscribe and hit that like button. Also, hit that notification button so you can see the new videos as they come in. And feel free to comment. It helps me to know what kind of videos you want me to put out in the future. So until next time, have a great day.